Football Sports Talk, episode 126 with Kennard Vernon Stewart. Got some concerns about the recent offensive line commitments for the Tigers. Got three concerns, matter of fact. Stay tuned. YouTube, Kennard Vernon Stewart here once again for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video. Let's comment and subscribe to the channel. Got a lot to talk about today. As always, actually, we're going to compile this thing in just a few minutes. We're not going to be long-winded because usually we never are. We don't go for 30 and 40. We want to get you what's happening at Auburn in a real timely manner because a lot of us, when we get on social media, we just got other stuff to look at. We ain't got time to be listening to something for a whole hour. At least I don't anyway. But we want to give you a quick snapshot of what's happening at Auburn. Kennard Vernon Stewart here once again for this podcast. Always great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Okay, in a 28-point swing over the weekend, Auburn goes from the number 50 recruiting class in the country all the way up to number 22. So now we're starting to get into a respectable zone for Auburn to where another top 10 class is definitely needed. Obviously, you want to get the bulk of those guys in the middle, those 92s and those 93s. Those are the roster builders. Those are those blue-collar guys that aren't with the glitz and glamour of the typical five-star recruit, but they can be developed faster than, say, an 87 or 85. Those guys down there, usually they require a lot of work. And in some cases, Auburn has had to rely on a lot of those types of guys. And we talk about player development. You got to come to the table with something, okay? It can't be a situation where you're having to do all of this developing. The real question is, are we getting it right on the front end? And that's what I'm starting to see that Auburn is doing a lot better job of, is just getting it right on film on the front end. Now, I'm a little iffy on the latest picks. I think, it's a real good effort. Auburn definitely needed to start to stockpile on some offensive linemen for this particular recruiting class. But I have some concerns. Number one, all three of the guys that have committed to Auburn as offensive linemen, those guys go to private schools. And it's nothing against private schools per se. I think you get an excellent education there. But most of your really highly rated, your competitive athletes, a lot of them just simply put, don't go to private schools. And typically when you have an offensive lineman, especially guys that, usually you don't find guys this big at a private school. And usually they're the only big guy out there. They can just kind of manhandle and they're going to look great on film because they're not accustomed to the physicality of someone as large and as agile as they are. So we look at this. We got Caleb Johnson, who is actually the highest rated recruit out of Ocala, Florida, who's on this list. Gardner Langlow, who is also from the same high school. Very rarely are you going to have two big guys like this to go to a private school. And my question is, how will that lack of competition on a week in and week out basis, how is that going to transfer over to the highest level of competition in Power 5 football? We got to look out for this kind of stuff. This is where, coaches feel that, hey, we can develop this kid. This guy's big enough. He has the size. But you can't teach dog, okay? You can't teach all-out physicality. That has to come to the table. And I'm a little wary as to whether that's going to come to fruition considering where these guys have gone to private school. Hopefully I'm wrong. Jack Bignell, the offensive line coach, actually was a former head coach for Louisiana Tech University back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Compiled a 42 and 50-plus loss record. Also did a little time in the NFL and did a little something in the SEC with Ole Miss. So he has a great deal of experience, and I think I trust the fact that he knows what he's looking at. Because when you have a blueprint of what you want your offensive line to look like, you pick the personnel that's going to fit your skill set. I think with the last couple of years for Auburn, there was just no rhyme or reason. Too much variation in size, too much variation in skill set, and it just didn't work. So Auburn also picked up on a few skill players, which I was really impressed with. which we're going to talk about in another video. But I really wanted to tackle this offensive line video and really help the Auburn fan base kind of sort of see what Auburn could be getting into with these particular guys. I'm not saying that they won't be good, but I'm a little concerned. I'm really a little concerned considering the level of competition that they face week in and week out on the high school level. Like Jamarian Gooch out of Tennessee, huge guy. Auburn needs the size, but I question the week in and week out competition, both in practice and live on Friday nights. All right, guys, let me know what you think about this one. We're talking about the Auburn football recruiting swing, at least partly. Mainly concerned about the offensive line recruits. Getting off to a great start. Finally got a 4-star recruit that's close to an average of 90% rating. Like the video, comment, and subscribe. And as always, great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.